So, Scotty, Marathon Gaming, Mr. Marathon Gaming himself. I wanted to talk to you about one question that kind of like popped up in my head as I was traveling through Europe recently. Y'all do things differently over there. What is like the staple food that you would say is like the comfort food that everyone just eats fairly regularly?
In the UK,
Yeah,
or just Europe would be different because it's so different. The
it's so
delicacies
many
of
different
each,
cultures. In
yeah,
the
like
UK though,
of course. As I say, like I've been to like Germany before, and they'll be eating some weird part of the pig which you've never heard of. Um, but yeah, in the UK, I mean, we're a staple for roast dinners and fish and chips. However, it's so multicultural. I think the most common dish is like a curry, and people do have curries pretty much every day of the week, to be fair. But I feel like we're more and more unhealthy as time goes on. I think you can get away with an Indian, a Chinese takeaway, pretty much anything any day of the week. Even Thai, if you feel a bit posh, you go for a bit of tempura, a bit of batter around your vegetables. It's the only way the children will take them, if there's batter around them and they're deep fried. But yeah, I'd say curry you could have any day of the week, Monday through to Sunday. But traditionally a roast dinner is normally a Sunday, so it's only like once a week. And then fish and chips used to be known as on a Friday, but I guess even Friday or Saturday. But curry any day of the week, you can get curry houses will be open 7 days a week.
follow up question: what is your comfort game? Like the game that you can just pop on at any given time and be like, oh, that's Nirvana. That's like the game I'm sitting down to.
What's that? Sorry,
Because George,
comfort.
what's your comfort game? Because I'm like, you told me about comfort food. What's the comfort game for you? Because like
Yeah,
George feels like he's like at any given time he could pop on MLB or Anno and he's lost to the world or some kayak crazy thing like that. With me,
yes.
I'm like it's a sports game or it's like Hades, like a
Yeah, it's
roguelike.
something. Yeah, something you go back to all the time. Sports games are a good shout. Sorry, I thought you meant what was our sort of staple food, comfort food, pizza, because that is the easiest thing to have.
Hmm.
Pizza or noodles, that's a comfort food. When you want to just lay there and feel like a slob, and then you devour it all, and then feel sorry for yourself. 10 minutes later, you look in the mirror and go, "You disgusting man, Scott. You disgusting man." And then you do it all again 24 hours later. Comfort game. I think lately my go-to when I've reactivated the old PlayStation Plus, I think it's been a bit of like an online game. So like Rainbow Six Siege, where I can a game you can jump on, play one game and turn it off, or even rage quit during it. So for a lot of people, it would be FIFA or COD. I'd say for me, probably Rainbow Six Siege. That's a game I could turn on for 10 minutes every night. However, saying that, I haven't played it at all this week, to be fair. But any game that's familiar, I guess, is a comfort game. And a game like that you can't complete, so it's timeless. So about a year ago, I was playing hundreds of hours in Dead by Daylight, and I could just play that each night. So yeah, a game that's familiar, probably a game you can't complete, and a game that it doesn't matter if you check in or check out at different times. So that's why those quick online multiplayer matches are quite good. So that'd probably be
Okay.
mine. What would yours be?
Man, like I say this like to say that at any given point on my Steam Deck or PlayStation or Xbox, there's going to be like I would probably say the four staples now of like these are guaranteed to be on that console, and it's going to be like Balatro now,
Yeah,
Hades. I'm gonna say at now Spider-Man, like any of the Spider-Man games, because I feel like just jumping on there and swinging is just like I could just do that for mindlessly for hours. And
I'm
then on
assuming
the other
you've
side,
complete. Oh, sorry, I'm assuming you completed Hades though. You must have escaped hell. I'm assuming.
yeah,
But you still play it again.
all these games are games
Yeah,
I've beaten before. But
just
like, yeah, like at any given time, those are my comfort games, and then like, those are the games I've beaten before. I can come back to regardless of like the completion and such like that, and just like because like on Spider-Man, even after you beat it, they let you just roam around the island for a little bit. Like you could swing around Manhattan and such like that. On Hades, you can go and do like different builds and different like modifiers and make the game harder for yourself and just
yeah.
do one more run. Balatro is the same way. You can just like have different modifiers and such. So like those are the games I can just pop on at any given time and go. But
Yeah, I suppose a lot of people would like those open world games like Zelda, Breath of the Wild. There's people that just play that each night for so many hours. over and over again.
Speaking of playing, everybody, we're about to start the intro of the show. On this episode of the UCP, Don't Adjust Your Dials, myself, the master of the indies, Marathon Gaming, we're going to be talking about a lot of things in this coming up episode. We're going to be talking about the games we've been playing. We're going to be talking about, what was the topic of the show? Oh, yeah. It was, do we have FOMO in gaming? Do we have fear of missing out on gaming? We're going to be talking about upcoming games that we're looking forward to playing, and we're going to be talking about why we are not at the Pastor Longhorn compound right now. And we're going to be doing this all after the intro. Hit that intro, George. Come on.
George and Seb rolling down the road, RGT riding shotgun a heavy load, Pastor Longhorn waiting to unfold. In El Paso, Texas, tales been told. One arm big, a sight to see.
All right, so we're back, everybody. All right, so Mr. Marathon Gaming. It's me, Seb. We're not at Longhorn's compound. We've snuck off. We're doing our own thing. I'm sick, so Longhorn didn't want the whole rest of the flock to be infected, with the COVID and such like that. Mr. Marathon Gaming was able to get away,
He was happy to let me out. He's been treating me well all week, to be fair. Ever since I was on a recruitment drive up in Blackpool, he was so happy with the numbers and the results I've got. I've been on the good cream cheese crackers, eating the good biscuits out of the good tin. Yeah, he's been really nice to me, actually. I'm starting to think I might be a more preferred prefect over head boy George.
Higher disciple?
I'm just thinking I might be Longhorn's favourite, is all I'm saying.
Oh, be on the lookout, George. He might not have a new favourite.
When Longhorn wakes up in the morning, I put a little apple at the end of his sleeping bag just to let him know that I'm a teacher's pet.
I like that. You know what else I like? I like the games we've been playing lately. And George likes to say in the weird kind of voice and such as that, his trademark, I guess you could say, delivery here. I'm going to try to do it justice, but fail miserably. So bear with me, everyone. What have you been playing, Mr. Marathon Game?
That was amazing. I am really glad, Seb, I'm talking to you, actually, because everybody knows you're the indie king. And every time I mention a game that I'm excited about on the Switch, you look very relaxed, and then after I finish talking, you very calmly inform me that the game's been out for 2 years and you've already played it. And so I'm very excited. Yeah, tongue in cheek. The amount of times I overpay for a game on Switch to find out it's 95% cheaper on Steam 2 years previous, but that's the world of a Nintendo fan. So I've got this game. I've been playing this. It's probably the only modern game. I've been playing a bit of retro I'll talk about in a moment, but it's a super rare game that was released physical, but it is digitally available, and it's from Tiny Build. It's called Little Guardsman. Now, yeah, I don't know if you've played it, Seb. Have you played it or seen much of it?
I've actually not played it. That was a game that kind of... Yeah, so you got me on that one.
1-0 Scotty.
Mm-hmm.
So this game is actually so unique. So I did a review for it on my channel, and I was absolutely buzzing over the moon because Tiny Build, one of the developers, actually from Canada, commented on a video. So they watched my review, which is really cool. But the game's just so unique. So basically, your father's a guardsman in like a medieval town. It's very good comedy in it. So he talks about, look, even though you're his daughter and you're like 10 years old, he's like, look, I need you to cover. I'm hungover. I've got to place a bet at the pub. So there's lots of little humour like that. And she's like, I just want to go out and play with my friends. She's like, look, I wanted to play with my friends when I was your age. But my dad said he's got to place a bet and he's got to go to the pub. So straight away, you're having fun with it. It's sort of like cartoon graphics. Really, really good art style. I wish I could show you the back cover. I really wish I could. And maybe we'll check out the trailer while I'm waffling on. But you're in this guardsman, you're in this little guards tower, and then you play out the days. So you have about 5 people visit you each day, and they could be goblins, humans, orcs, people pretending to be other people. And it's your job to decide if you deny them access or allow them into the kingdom. The choices you make are up to you. However, there are consequences on the story. So the game changes later on. And there's a lot more to the game. So there's like a princess that goes missing. There's a little bit of uproar between humans and some goblins if you make certain decisions. You can search people. So you'll have like so much action points to use. You can have like a metal detector, like security. You might find contraband. You can confiscate it. At night, if you're on a night watch, you'll find people trying to be other people or smuggling stuff in. You get criminals. You can send people to jail. But it's not just that whole denying people get in and out. There's some really fun bits at the end of each day. There's other areas you can go to. You can go to a stadium where they play Goblin Ball. You can try and bet your wages on the team and try and win some more money. You can interact with characters you've let in your local pub where you sleep, because you sleep above like a pub, and that can affect the story. There's a lot to it. There was a game show when I was playing a level the other night, and it was about rescuing a princess. You decide who's going to rescue it, like a barbarian or like a wizard. There's so much to the game. It really, really is cool. And I've been literally playing it. It's one of those games. Actually, it's a great shout for the topic of the show. When you asked me earlier about comfort games, this has been my comfort game this week, because I've just played like one level, which is basically one day, each evening for about 20 minutes. And it's not a particularly long game. I think it's like a 6 to 8 hour game. But it's absolutely adorable. It's very, very unique. And it's just really fun. So that is what I've been playing modern-wise on Nintendo Switch. Other than that, in bed... Sorry, go on.
So for you UCP members who, we're thinking about implementing a video version of the podcast, this is one of those episodes that I think is a good trial run for that. But so for the audio listeners, if you do see a video version of this podcast, you'll be able to see some gameplay of the game he's talking about over here on our screen. I love the art style of this, by the way.
It's beautiful. It really is. So you got a little vampire who's coming up there. And again, people will be bad characters, but it doesn't mean they're bad people, and that's what's quite cool about the game. So you'll have goblins come up and you'll be told from higher authority, goblins are taking the humans' jobs, don't let them in. But then you feel sorry for them. They're just honest people. You'll have humans, which are a bit horrible, but you're told to let them in. It really does relate a little bit to modern society. It's quite clever in that respect. And you have some, characters which you're taught, these people are bad, but they might be trying to do good things. It's really hard. It's really cool. So you've got to ask as many questions as you can. There's a phone in the background, and you can call 3 different people. There's like a gesture you can call who doesn't give you straight answers. He's like talks in riddles and is always joking around. There's like a warrior sort of princess sort of lady. He'd be like a Xena, like big tough girl. She's very serious. And then there's like a sort of politician lady who's sort of, head on the committee, and she's very diplomatic, and she will just do what is right for business. So you have to take a little bit of each and everyone's saying and try and work out and draw your own conclusion as what's right for the kingdom. And I'm assuming there's alternate endings. It's really, really good. There's some cool characters. And yeah, I've had an absolute blast of it. And I'm hoping anyone listens, gives it a go, because it really, really is good. And that's what's cool with super rare games, because there's so many digital games, unless it gets, it does really well and someone picks it up, like a big streamer on Steam and shows it, they can get underlooked. So that's what's cool about super rare. They find these small developers and they go, hey, do you want a chance? And they make a deal with them. They get the game published. And the fact that you've not heard of it just echoes of how important it is for indie developers to get these games made physical. And that way we can all share them and enjoy them together.
Yeah, this was a game that, it sort of broached my radar. Like, I think this came out last year around January, and it sort of came and went for me, in the sense that like I was playing A Tale Between Worlds, and I was so fascinated with some other stuff that's going on, and unfortunately I missed this gem, and it looks incredible. I love this almost like Cartoon Network like art style it has, and it looks
you're right. It
whimsical.
almost looks like Dexter's laboratory artwork, doesn't it?
Yeah,
that's a really
for
good.
sure.
You're spot on there. It's a good analogy. Yeah, it looks like Cartoon Network. It does.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like the vampire here is could be any there was a show called Billy, was it The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, and it looks like that it could have been like a character from that show back in the day. So I'm like, I love the art style. I love everything about this. What else have you been playing, man?
So other than that, I've been playing a little bit of retro. It might not be exciting
Ooh.
for most, but Sega Game Gear, I've been playing in bed, and I've had a little bit of a dilemma. I'll put my headphones in. The missus might be watching. I think she watches at the moment. I think it's Married at First Sight or something like that she's into.
Oh
So I'll be
yeah,
playing
yeah.
the
My
game.
wife
Yeah,
watches
so
that well.
I think most of the wives watch that for some reason. But I was playing a bit of Game Gear, alternating games. But what I've been really sticking with playing each night is Road Rash on the Mega Drive. It's really, really good. I know it's pretty
So
much
I
a
haven't
pop.
heard of this. Tell me about Road Rash.
So Road Rash is so it's a motorcycle game, like a racing game on a
Okay.
motorbike. A little fun fact: it was, I believe, the first game to feature police brutality in a video game ever. I believe. Yeah. So you're on a motorbike, and then what's cool about it? It's a bit like Outrun. So you're the view from behind the bike. You know, that old school sort of early 90s
Mhm.
graphics. So you can only see so much in front of you. You see the corners bending around. There's cars to dodge, oil patches, but then you can punch and kick your opponents. There's also weapons as well. You got a club, a bat, chain, and then the police come up as well. And if you're going too slow, you can fall off your bike, get back on it. But if the police try and bump you, once you get to a certain speed, they pull you over, and then you get disqualified from the race. But what is just so addictive of it is like nothing was like that at the time. But what's really cool, it's so perfectly balanced, is say there's like 5 levels. There's 5 maps to each level, and there's always a different music for each map, different background. It's really well done. And yeah, you've got these little cool storylines from the characters, and you have little rivals. So at the moment on the screen there's Rude Boy, one of your sort of rivals on there. But you get money for each race, and if you don't do anything with your money, once you complete the first 5 races, say you come first in all of them, which is very doable. When you get to the second round of races, you can't really keep up. So there's a shop, and you can go in and you can buy a better bike. And it was just so cool. So there's like, I remember saving up for like the Panda 2000, I think it was. So there's about, 5 or 6, 7, maybe 8 bikes that you can buy. You start off with a bike that's okay for the first few races, but you need to save your money up and, rinse and repeat. And obviously this was before memory card days, so you'd be writing down the cheat code, the level code, not cheat code, writing down the level code so you could return to the same point. But yeah, in terms of on the Mega Drive, this was awesome. So there was Road Rash 1, Road Rash 2, Road Rash 3. And yeah, Road Rash 2, it was like the step up from punching and kicking to go into weapons. And it was so cool. I
Oh.
played so much of that game. And the third one's amazing. And I actually carried on. So there's even there's some on the PlayStation where it went like proper 3D. And then even the same developers, I think I brought this up. So on the Nintendo Switch, it'll be on other platforms as well. It's called Road to Redemption. It might be me and RGT talked about it. It's really similar to Road Rash, and that's why I brought it. It was like Road Rash in the modern times, but there was like machine guns. It was really over the top. So you could like gun people down. You had, nitrous oxide in the bikes. Anyway, I did some research because it was so much like it. And it turns out it was the same developers. They lost the license for the name, so fell out with who owned the name, and they made their own game. So if anyone's played Road to Redemption, it's actually from the same team that developed Road Rash. So it is literally a modern Road Rash. But yeah, that's what I've been playing. However, I've got 2 Game Gears. One's screen modded and one isn't. I keep one not modded just to show you the brighter side in life, that the grass can be greener. And all of a sudden, the screen stopped working. So I've got a friend called Chris over in Wales. I'm going to shout out to him, Retro Saviour. He basically repairs and mods retro consoles for, a very honest price. And he's going to hook me up. He said send it to him, and he's going to try and sort it out for me. So
Shout out, Chris. You know you're listening.
shout out to Chris for that. And I'll be posting that to him hopefully tomorrow, because playing on the old screen, it is painful. You're constantly changing the contrast. You're angling it with the light. I don't know how we did it as kids. I really don't know how we did it. And if sunlight comes through the room, oh my God. No wonder we had the curtains closed so much. If you see like old houses, you'll see there's like net curtains over the windows. I'm starting to think it's because of the TV and the video games. You can't see anything when the sunlight comes through.
I never thought about that. I always thought it was like a design aesthetic, but I could see it being, I guess, functional.
Because like TVs now, they're like anti-glare, aren't they? You have different modes, but yeah, I mean, sunlight comes in on a old CRT, you cannot see anything. All you can see is the back of your soul reflection off the glass.
So, how much of your time, like, I'm curious, like, how much of your gaming time is dedicated to discovering new games and playing, like, more modern games versus retro gaming?
So that's the balance. And to be honest with you, that's one of my, whole fear of missing out. That's kind of the balance it comes into, because the more I spend with something, the more you miss out on something else. So you would think I've played all the retro games, but I really haven't. There's so much,
Who
there's
can? Who
always
can play all the
you
retro games,
can't you
man?
can't play it. You can't play everything, and then you be playing them. I just bounce between the two, but I find I can't do more than two things. So I'll play one modern console, maybe it'd be the Nintendo Switch, and I'll play one retro, and maybe it'd be the Game Gear, and then I'll go to Dreamcast or Mega Drive or Wii or PS1, and then I'll go to PS5 with that. I kind of can't do more than two. I've said it before. I said it's hard to read two books at the same time. I feel like with games you can, but I feel like two's the limit. I think two different games in the same week is kind of about as far as I can go. And then it gets real difficult. It is a juggling act. But what normally happens is if I haven't been in the games room, which is where most of the retro stuff happens, I'll poke my head in there and I'll be like, man, it makes me sad I've not been in here. And then I'll be in here for a while, and then I'll walk past the main console in the lounge. I'll be like, man, I've not touched you in a while. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword, I think they call it. So yeah, it really is.
So, okay, I want to you brought up a little bit of the main topic of the show. We're going to be talking about the fear of missing out, FOMO.
Yeah.
And in gaming, you feel like you're kind of in a unique position. I guess RGT probably has the same kind of thing of like you fear of missing out on games of the past that you already own, and really experiencing those or re-experiencing those again. But then like what's the pool like for the modern day games? Like the games that have come out recently. Is there like a stronger pool to relive the days that have gone by, or is there a stronger pool to like everyone's talking about Elden Ring or everyone's talking about
Yeah.
Zelda? Like which one of those pools do you feel like is stronger for you personally?
I feel like the modern is more. We talked about this at a meetup recently. There was a lot of retro gamers and YouTubers and streamers there, and some of them are really stuck in their ways with they will just play retro, and then some of them are more the other side. And we had that conversation. It's like you can't be. For me, you got to keep up with the modern. Otherwise, there's so many games you won't appreciate. And if you're going off that whole retro theme, you're only going to be playing these so-called new games now in 20 years' time anyway. And you'll miss out. There is so many beautiful games. I heard Slope's Games Room say it really well. I remember he talked about a game he loved. I think it was Ori and the Wisps. Beautiful.
Ori and the Will of the Wisp. Oh my
That's
goodness,
it.
it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
So he talked about that on like a stream, and because people said to him about what are you playing modern? He goes, I love my retro, but he was like, oh, I played this game and I couldn't stop playing it, and it made me think, what other games have I missed out on? And that is the thing with it. And for me, because of the pricing, obviously the whole thing with collecting, it's fun finding cheap games of retro, but for modern games, they obviously come out at a bit of a price tag, and sometimes they come out so thick and fast. It's like when the music industry was booming with CDs and albums, especially why we've still got physical, is they're competing with each other and they're dropping two big titles on the same day. For example, I've had FOMO just this week. So I was on a stream with a guy called Mag, middle-aged gamer guy. He's been on the show before a couple of times, so he hosted Timeless. I was a
Shout out
guest
to
on
Mag.
his show. Yeah, shout out to Mag. I was a guest on his show a few nights ago on Tuesday Night Chats, and he has a good format where he shows the games that come out that week. They look at the trailers and they sort of guess what scores they got from an average, and the chat joins in. And it came up with Undisputed, the boxing game. Now, I talked so passionately about it because I am a big boxing fan. And the last boxing game we had was like 2011 with David Hale on the front, which was Fight Night Champions. It was so good. And I said they've had so long to get it right. There are some things wrong with it. It doesn't look as fluid. But I was like, it doesn't matter how not excellent it is. I'm going to absolutely love this game because I've waited so long for it. And I went to order it and all the special editions already sold out. And then I looked at how much a standard edition is. It's like $54.99. And I was like, oh, I don't want to pay that much because that's a lot of money to buy for a game. Because I know I'm going to end up buying a game almost every other week. It's not like there's one a month. And I already feel like I've looked and there's already people that have played it and they're streaming it and stuff. And I already feel like I've got the fear already because I've missed out on the pre-order where you get, extra boxes added in and some different outfits and the cool cover with Tyson Fury on the front. I think the standard edition's got Canelo Alvarez on the front, which is cool, but I want the special edition. So I already feel like I've missed out there. And I'm like, man, how have I slept on that? We've been talking about that game coming out we didn't know the title of it. We were talking about a boxing game or a new fight night coming out for about 2-3 years. There was like fake trailers being teased and leaked for as long as I can remember, for years. And obviously it got put to one side because UFC got popular and I guess EA decided they could only make one game. And maybe they saw, I don't know, sales decline potentially with some of the previous boxing games. But yeah, I really had it with Undisputed because I looked today at work. I literally looked today to try and buy it, and I was like, "Oh man, I don't want to pay for that version. I want the special version. So I want it so bad. So I'm like, oh, well, do I wait now for the price to come down? But I really want to play this week. Like, I'm dying to play. I'm already looking what I'm doing over the weekend, and I'm working out how I can fit it in. Where can I get it from? So amongst the other backlog of games I've got, I've got other games I want to play. But for me, this has really been my FOMO for releases of games this week, Undisputed. Is that a game that interests you at all?
Oh, man. Scotty, the more you talk, the more I'm like, man, that's my kindred brother from another mother. Like, because I kid you not, you talked about comfort. We talked about comfort games earlier. And we talked about, like I said, sports games. Fight Night Champion is on my Xbox, upstairs, downstairs. Like, it stays on there because that is the game I'm ready to squab with anybody on at any given time. Like, that's like Fight Night Champion is like the game that for 6 years I can just go back to over and over again. And if I get like bored with another game, I'm like, I can go on. I just go on there, start a new career, and let's go up. Let's go up the rankings real quick. So when you said that, I was like, oh man, he's kind of like me. And then you said you were looking forward to Undisputed because you were like, you wanted that fight night itch. You were a big fan of boxing as well. And I'm like, oh snap, this dude is like me for real. So a little background here, like Undisputed, indie game that's been at PAX, which is almost like the modern day E3 here over in the States. There's PAX East and PAX West. So for about 4 years, this game has been in early development. So and if you bought an early development code or access on PC, you've been playing this game for like 4 years. So it's just
didn't know that.
Yeah. So, which is, I didn't used to be this guy, the guy that was like, oh, everyone should get PC. But now I'm like, oh man, now that I have a Steam Deck and, have a little bit of a PC, not a real good PC, but like the Steam Deck is like that entry point to PC gaming to where I'm like, oh man, like this feels like we get early access to all the movies that everyone wants to see like 6 months from now, or a year or 2 years from now,
Yeah,
but
it's like you've got the VPN and you're changing your country on Netflix to see a show.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a week earlier, Game of Thrones that come out in Australia 1 week earlier.
That's exactly how it feels. But so this Undisputed officially released, what was it, the 11th, I believe, October 11th for it's now for Xbox, PlayStation. It officially dropped for PC, where it's like it's out of early access. Now it's in the 1.1, I think 1.1 stages right now. So like I've been playing this game for a little bit, and I will tell you it feels different than Fight Night. Like it's more, I think Fight Night is more pick up and play friendly. This like Undisputed feels more of a
simulation than an arcade.
Yeah, simulation, but also like it's more thought provoking of a boxing game. Like you have to think about angles. You have to think about your cut man. You have to manage your team out in the career modes. You have to think about like, oh, this kind of coach will fit my play styles, So it's more of a thinking man's boxing game.
Yeah.
So
proper boxing.
So are you going to play this weekend?
I've got to. I'm gonna. I've got to tell you before I forget. I might have put this up before, but I've got two funny stories about Fight Night Champion. Only because you said you love it so much. So it's funny you said. So I know. Is it on the Game Pass then? Is it, or PlayStation Plus? Is it readily available?
Unfortunately, not. It is. It is. I think it's like $59.99 for PlayStation and Xbox.
Wow, they're making some money with these old games. They're doing a Nintendo Switch. That's what they're doing. But there was a time where the game was so old, right? I traded the game in, waiting for the new ones to come out, and I bought the game again, and then I traded it again, and then bought it again. I bought the same game, traded it in and out like twice. And what's really funny, I remember going into the store, buying it again, and I was really embarrassed. Like, man, I've traded this in 6 months ago, thinking there's a Fight Night to come out, and it never did. And I bought the game. I was looking at it. You know, you recognise markings in your own game. I brought my own game that I traded in there. So it's my own.
That is crazy.
I know, my own bloody copy. But this is how unpopulated it was, online servers. I remember really liking the game, and I was playing like, do you know, you got like, is it Isaac Frost, who's like the
he's a
career
villain
character
in the main story mode.
Yeah, he's a villain. But when you play, so when you play on the online one, obviously you haven't got that story. It's just ranked matches. Now people would always make their character 400 pounds, 8 foot tall, and you couldn't stand a chance because the reach was impossible. And I used to like making my character quite realistic. You know, I try and make him look a bit like me. I didn't go silly over the top with a pink afro like some people do, with a massive orange beard and all this stuff. But every time I went online, because there was hardly anyone people online, I just kept on every other match or every third match. I kept on drawing against the champion. And the first time it happened,
funny.
I was so buzzing. I remember shouting to my wife, I was like, oh my God, I'm about to compete for the belt. And I got knocked out in one punch. I think it was called Flash Knockouts they had on that game, didn't they? And I got dropped every time. As soon as I made a mistake, like I throw an overhand right, he'd duck under, hit me with an uppercut, and it was all over. But I was so excited the first time. Then I realised every night I was having a championship fight. And I was thinking at one point, hold on a minute. I think it's just me and this one other guy online. So I think I'm actually top 10 ranked contender in the world right now because there's no one online this game. I know, insane. But yeah, to answer your question, the fact that we're talking about Undisputed now and the fact that you're saying it's been out for so long, you've just heightened my FOMO. So I am going to order this game imminently, I think.
You know, that's the divide between like PC gaming and like console gaming is like, but honestly, a lot of people, the masses, are just now playing this game because, like, you know, a lot of most people still play with consoles. So, yeah, this is like a brand new introduction. This is the first boxing game that's dropped for consoles in what I think since 2011. So that's crazy.
Forever.
That's exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so what are you gonna do when you jump on Undisputed? Are you doing the career mode? Are you jumping straight into the servers? What are you gonna do?
I think I'd always go career mode. I mean, if I play like a FIFA title, football, soccer title, then I tend to go online seasons because I'm familiar with the game, you know, and they're pretty similar. But because it's been so long, unlike yourself, I haven't been playing, you know, Fight Night Champion still. So last time I've played that game will be, you know, frequently, would be a long time ago. So I'm probably a bit rusty, especially it's a new game, so I need to learn the mechanics. And I love a career mode, to be honest with you. There's nothing more exciting. Same thing with football games. RGT was saying last week, he takes a team from League 2 and he tries to get them in the Premier League or League 1. It's fun, you know, building a team. And it's the same with these boxing games because their stats are really bad. You get in the gym. You know, you have those fights for small purses and you build your attributes up. You try and work out what you want to do. You spend ages customizing your character. And to be honest with you, I hate
underdog story, you know?
Yeah, it really is. And I hate customizing characters in games in general. It's like one of my pet hates. We had to talk about recently. There was like a quiz thing going around. It was like things you hate in video games, which is quite a hard category. And people was moaning about certain things. And one of them for me was character customization, because sometimes I just want to play a game. I don't even know if I want to like it. Give me a template. I don't want to spend Hogwarts Legacy for ages. I just went XXX. I don't even think my guy's got a nose. I literally was like, look, I want to play the game. I'm not interested in what colour hair he's got or what earrings he's wearing. Just let me play. But on a boxing game, I find it quite exciting. It's the only exception. And when you first make it into like I don't know, you'll be like 12th or 13th in the rankings, and then you get offered that fight against someone similar ranking, and then someone in the top 10 will offer you a fight for big money, and it's like high risk, high reward, and that's when it hits you, and you're like, oh man, this is getting real. So it's getting me buzzing talking about it, to be honest. I'm quite excited. I'm really excited for the career mode. The online bit doesn't interest me because I know I'll just get knocked out straight away. But the career mode is so fun. When you're working your way up for the titles, even in the wrestling games, they're fun, when you start off at no one and then you go against people that's when it's cool, you'll be like, oh my God, I know this guy, when you actually know the characters and you know their styles. So, yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting. I don't know if I'm going to make him like honest, like, a modest 6 foot. And then what weight I want to go at, I don't know. You want to be in the heavyweights, but then if I make him 6 foot, I mean, he's going to have to be like an inside fighter like Tyson. Otherwise, I'm going to get blown away. But yeah, I'm really, really excited for it. So, did you actually play this yourself then? A fair while?
Yeah, I've been on this for almost 2 years now.
Wow.
So, what I will say is like, forget everything you know about Fight Night. These games are so different because like, the controls are different. The way like your punching angles are so different. This is more about like traditional boxing, as in like V cuts and such. That you have to be more precise in this game.
Yeah. Managing
Fight
your
Night,
stamina,
I feel like
that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean like stamina. I feel like played a pretty cool like component in Fight Night, but not to this extent. And also managing cuts in this game is like vital. So like. This to me feels like, even though it's like arcadey in the sense that like some of the created characters still look like arcade characters, it is more methodical, it is more simulated boxing than Fight Night was to me. But I feel like I still enjoy Fight Night more as far as like in a pick up and play format, but Undisputed I think is like a good alternative.
Yeah. I can't wait to play it, to be honest with you. The cut thing used to stress me out, Seb. I can't remember which Fight Night it was, but sometimes it's like a mini game in the older ones, but then it might even be Fight Night Champion. I used to like that would mess me up, it could ruin the fight. But then again, that's what makes it realistic. Even Fight Night Champion did it quite well because it's so easy to evade and just constantly rock and roll under punches. However, when you do it too much, your stamina goes right down and then you can't get your guard up. So even that was quite well balanced. So seeing how they've evolved for that is actually really, really exciting. And I can see already it's got Riyadh season and all the it's tried to make it as realistic as possible, which is really cool. I mean, the picture on the screen now for anyone who's watching the actual the visuals of this show, I mean, that's a real like gritty arena they're in right now. It looks really cool.
Yeah, and it's like I love how underground it feels. Like for the career mode, like the first, I'd probably say almost 20 fights feel very much like a Rag the Riches story before you actually get into like a WBC type of arena.
Oh, I can't wait for it. Can't wait.
So, what else have you been playing lately?
I think that's it really. When I was on the show last time with RGT, I talked about different games like Siren on a PS2, but I was playing it via PS Plus. I was literally just clicking and trying out different games, 20 minutes here and there. But yeah, I think really it's been Conscript from Team 17, which is the like horror survival, World War One sort of game. I played a little bit of that, but again, I think that was about 5 to 7 days ago. It's been mainly little Guardsman each night with a bit of Sega Game Gear. So that's kind of all I've been playing. What about yourself, Seb?
Tying into the topic of the show with FOMO, so I've been dabbling more so than I have like most of this year. Most of this year, I feel like I've been very methodical in like mowing down maybe 2 or 3 games, especially on the indie side a week. But like on this right now, because like there's been a little bit of a slower trickle on the indie side and a little bit more of a higher like volume volume output on the AAA side. I'm like, Undisputed came out for the masses, so there was a lot more people in the servers and a lot more like a lot more anticipation and a lot more talks about Undisputed, so I jumped onto that pretty hard again. I've been playing on the Steam Deck. It's supported, but some of the texts are a little small on the Steam Deck. You know, you
Yeah.
get what you pay for there. But on the FOMO side of things, a game that I jumped into because a lot of people were talking about it was Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero. Have you heard of this game?
Okay. Well, funny that. So when I was on Mag Show the other night, there was a Dragon Ball Z trailer. However, I don't. It's got to be the same game. Is it new or is it brand new? Like the last couple of weeks?
Yeah. It came
Then it
out on
must be
the
the same.
11th as well, I think.
Yeah, then it must be the same game. So yeah, it got really a lot higher. I think a lot higher rated than I was expecting. Because obviously Dragon Ball Z, I mean, it's been going for so long. I know especially in the UK, like anime and stuff is so popular. But Dragon Ball Z, I mean, I watched that as a kid. I remember we literally was lending each other. There's a guy called Glenn who lived in my village, and he used to lend me a VHS tape on the bus. That's how old school it was. So I used to borrow a VHS tape from him, and it had all the it was all taped on there. He used to tape the shows for me, and I didn't even know what anime was back then. You know, I just thought I was watching a cartoon. And that was kind of like one of the really early mainstream. A bit like when Pokemon come into schools. That was like, you know, people didn't realise what an RPG was till Pokemon and Final Fantasy come along. I felt like that with Dragon Ball Z. It's like we didn't know what anime was until that came. I know there's some hardcore fans into anime and manga, and they might be more familiar with some of the old stuff. But for me, other than Spirited Away, that old school film, I would say Dragon Ball Z was, you know, the first I'd seen to them. But there's been so many games that when I try to play them, I just find they're such over the top, the beat 'em ups, that I don't know what's going on. I end up mashing buttons. I played the odd one. I saw there was an open world one not too long ago, and that looked really cool. But yeah, I don't know who's playing the games. Yeah, I don't know who's playing these games, but obviously there must be a big audience for it, because I thought this would be really niche now for how long it's been out and how many games there are. But they just keep banging out solid titles.
Yeah. So Dragon Ball Z. How old are you, by the way? Like, if you don't mind me asking.
I'm 37, I think. I have to check the
Okay.
Longhorn confiscated my passport to stop me from leaving, so I
He
can't
will
check my
do
date
that.
of birth.
All right. So I am a little younger than you. I'm on 33. So like, Dragon Ball Z over here was a phenomenon, and like I think you were spot on the money there. Like Dragon Ball Z was the godfather of like the ascendance of anime, so to speak.
Mm.
Like, it was that anime that made anime mainstream. Whether people like, you know, there were still the Sailor Moons of the world, the Yu Yu Hakusho's, and all that kind of stuff. But like, Dragon Ball Z was the one that hit that zeitgeist in a different way. It was the one that was the water cooler anime. And so this game came out and surprisingly sold 3 million copies. 3 million copies, by the way. In just
a week.
days. In 24 hours, it sold 3 million copies.
How many did you buy, Seb?
I only bought one, by the way. I only did the one, but
I thought you was responsible then.
nah, man, I ain't got bread like that. I ain't got bread like that. No, but you know, the crazy thing about it is, like, sure, there's been Dragon Ball games that have come out, you know, in recent years, but this is like the first arena fighter style Dragon Ball Z game that's come out since Tenkaichi, I want to say like a decade ago. So
okay.
there was a lot of like anticipation for this style of game where they pop you into a general area, a highly destructible area, and you could just fly around and just fight your opponent in any given style you want. Just kind of like what you see on the screen here, where it's not like, it is a fixed map area, but it's not like a fixed area like Tekken or Mortal Kombat, to where like you are stuck on the ground and you have to move in on the ground in a 3D space. No, this is a arena fighter where you can go up, you can go down, you can fly around your opponent, you can like shoot him behind his back, all sorts of different things. Does this interest you at all?
Reviewing this game? I'm not sure if it does, to be honest with you. Only because my last experience with one, I just found it a bit too complex. And even though I remember it so well, I'm not really that into anime now. So I don't really have the massive nostalgia for it, or the need to want to try and get back into it, if you know what I mean. Did you review this? Was that why you was playing the game, or are you into anime yourself?
I'm both. I'm in the before
Yeah,
I came down with the vid. I was actively writing a review for Sparking Zero. I'm still in the process of doing that. It'll probably post once I feel a little better. Sorry about the nasally congested sounding like everybody loves Raymond over here. By the way, um, like I love anime. Anime is probably a killer of who I am as a person. Like I like sports, I like video games, I like anime. The those are like three huge components of what makes Sebastian Sebastian. So like Dragon Ball Z is one, and Dragon Ball like Super, is and Dragon Ball GT. We don't talk about GT, but like all those are like a part of my being in a way that like I am still fans of, even though they're not my favorite animes of all time anymore, like they were when I was growing up. So this
yeah,
is a FOMO game to where like if everyone wasn't super hyped about this game, I probably would have been like, oh, I might wait for like a deep sale for this to come out. Thankfully, I was given a
yeah,
review copy, so I didn't have to come out of
yeah.
pocket for this. But like, yeah, this is one that I'm playing because like everyone's buzzing about like, oh, this feels like our childhood. This feels like the game we played with our childhood, but with updated Dragon Ball storylines, such as like Dragon Ball Super storylines such as like Super Saiyan Blue or Super Saiyan God or Jiren and the Tournament of Power. All these words sounds like nonsense to non-anime people, but like like since the last game has come out, there's been probably like 5 major Dragon Ball arcs that have come out, and this includes a lot of those characters from those arcs that have come out since the last game.
Do you have any FOMO for Silent Hill 2? Is that
I
on
am
your
a
radar?
hardcore chicken, by the way, but
Oh, of course you are.
I'm a chicken, man. Like with horror games in general, like I get scared so easily that I tend to not enjoy horror type games, but like Silent Hill is on a lot of people's probably game of the year shortlist. So a part of me wants to play it just because I want to see what the hype is about. But I'm also like I'm not gonna enjoy that because like I don't like being scared a lot. So it's one of the parts of FOMO that I wrestle with quite a bit in reviewing games. Is like, oh, there's a whole genre of games that you do not particularly like because you don't like that genre in movies, games, TV shows, etc., etc. But everyone's talking about it being a real certified contender this year. I want to be a part of that contender discussion and like my list actually be credible, so I should probably check that out. So that's where my FOMO comes with a lot of games in the horror genre, and to be frank, with a lot of games in the Souls genre as well.
Yeah, yeah, I know you're big on those games as well. But yeah, for me,
No, not at all. Not at all.
I
Not at all.
don't,
That's more of a Bobby thing for sure.
I don't, I don't have massive FOMO for Silent Hill 2, but I think again that's the retro that's helped me out a little bit. It's only because obviously a lot of people they go, "Oh my god, I remember Silent Hill," and obviously that's what's pumped up some of these retro games because people are like, "Oh my god," and they can't wait to play it. A bit like with Alan Wake, similar thing actually, but a bit like Alan Wake, and the same with Silent Hill. I've played Alan Wake 2 or 3 years ago on the 360, so again I still haven't played the new one, but I believe that was digital only. That put me off. I didn't want to cave into the establishment, man. Power to the people. I'm not giving in to the man. And then,
Like
am I
one
correct
of
in
your
that? Was it
companies.
physical or not?
No, no, like you're absolutely right. It was originally digital only, but one of your companies that like likes to go
Oh
back
yeah, the
and
limited
do
run
physical
games.
copies. Yeah, limited
Yeah.
runs. Actually did a physical copy of Alan Wake 2 recently.
Oh, okay. But yeah, with Silent Hill, because I played Silent Hill 1. Like, I got as far as I could, but I was looking up what to do so much. I was near the end of it, but I've got quite good control. I'm not too bothered about finishing things and stuff like that. So I played loads of hours on that each night. I was really enjoying it for a few weeks, and then I jumped on a second one, and it must have only been 1 to 2 years ago. So for me, Silent Hill 2, like when people take pictures of games or upload it to Instagram or YouTube, everyone only shows the first 1 to 2 minutes, don't they? because obviously people are
Yeah, for
excited.
sure.
Oh, I've just started playing it. So every time I see footage of the game, it just looks too familiar. Like the opening scene, that car park, and the church, and you're running around. Like it's so fresh in my head because I've played it recently on the retro within a couple of years ago, and I kind of don't mind the old graphics, even like with Resident Hill. Sorry, even Resident Evil. That'd be a hybrid we're all waiting for. Even with Resident Evil, like I'm still happy with the old games. I haven't had to. I mean, the remasters and stuff are amazing. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes the old graphics make it almost a bit more scarier. Like even like Amnesia and stuff like that. They're so dated, it almost adds to it because it's like pixelated. I mean, I know you're scared of horror games. You probably can't relate. I'm big on board games as well as video games. So me and my family play a lot of board games. And
Well,
I
I
don't
didn't
know if
know
you're
that. That's
aware
cool.
that, there was a series of board games. I've got all of them, and it was revolutionary at the time. Check out a trailer for this, Seb. It was called Atmosphere. In America, it was called something else. Or what was
Atmosphere.
it called? Yeah, so it's British. It was Atmosphere. I think it was called Nightmare in America, the board game. And basically, it was a first video game. It was a first board game where it came with a video player. So it was so cool. So you're playing a board game, the video goes in, and then on the screen there'll be a monster. It'd be like the Night Keeper. It's funny. It was scary when I was younger. I remember being terrified. My dad would have friends round, and it would talk to you. Like, he'd roll a dice, it would say, "Come to the TV," and then it would scare you. And I was so scared as a kid. As I got older into retro stuff, I brought all these old games up, and we played them recently. Last few years, me and my family, my sisters, and we
Hmm.
was like, these aren't scary at all. They're almost like comical, but back then I was like so scared of them.
It's like
I've got,
Goosebumps, to where
yeah,
like a lot of kids were, they were scared of Goosebumps back in the day, but now they're like, well, what were
yeah.
we even afraid of?
But I've got so lost into talking about Atmosphere and thinking about it, I've forgotten what your even question was, Seb. Sorry, I went right on a tangent there. I went right off in a different direction.
No, you're good. You're good. Like Silent Hill, is
Oh, that
what
was
kind
it.
of like
Sorry,
sparked this
yeah.
up. Yeah.
Sorry, that's why I was talking about it. So, for example, those games, Atmosphere, are so good now, even to play them, because it's pixelated and it's dated. It adds to the horror of it. If you could see a sharp image of someone in a costume pretending to be a ghost, it's not scary. But because it's all dark and shaded, the TV's pixelating, you can't work out what's going on. It adds to that whole atmosphere of the game, ironically, which was the name. So, yeah, it's called Nightmare, I think, in America. So, basically, the aim of the game is really cool. You all play together. You've got the videotape 60 minutes. You're trying to beat the clock. All you're trying to do, everyone at the start of the game writes down their biggest fear. You put it in the center under the nightmare bit. And then you're basically trying to go around the board as quick as you can, collecting so many keys. Once you've got all the keys, you can activate the end game. And then if you get your own fear, you're out. You have to get someone else's fear. So it's really funny because people write their fears in there. And sometimes, you can write something ridiculous. Now, I found these games at a car boot sale, a bit like your garage sales that you guys have over in the States. And I got the board game out to check it was all there.
How do you say it over there? Car boot sale?
Car boot sale. Yeah, we call it a car boot sale. Yeah.
That's fun.
So basically, people pull up. We're doing one this weekend, actually. My wife's selling there this weekend, so I'll come with her. So basically, you pull up in a field. It sounds really English, doesn't it? You pull up in a field, and then literally you pull out a table. You chuck all your stuff on there, and yeah, it's just basically like a flea market for just the general public, basically. But yeah, you get to So I bought the board games from a car boot sale. Now I got them out, and you could still see the writing from when people have played this game from like 30 years ago, because that's how old the game is, right? I think it came out.
That's crazy.
It was like Betamax, so it'd been like early 90s, late 80s, that early. And anyway, there was like kids' handwriting. You could tell it was a child's writing. It was all joined up with like curly letters, like you do at primary school or infant school. And the fears are really sweet. Like, I didn't want to rub them out. It was like a piece of history. There were things that just like wouldn't happen, like scared of the monster under your bed and all this stuff. Like, it was really cute and sweet reading these.
That's cool.
Yeah, there were some real funny ones on there. But yeah, that was a great game. But yeah, a bit like with Silent Hill, with it being modern. Like, I feel like you don't necessarily need too much. Obviously, it adds something different to have it, more jump scares and a bit more clarity on the screen. But sometimes that grittiness and age to a game can add to the atmosphere of the playing experience. So I don't feel like you need to rush out too much when they remaster a horror game, because sometimes the originals are so good. And if you look at retro gaming prices, what games shoot up in value and hold their value so much, other than limited run copies? It's always horror games. And I think that's because they hold up well, because it doesn't matter if they look jagged and tanky, because the more tank controls it is, the more you feel scared. When you're controlling a character, you know, all the fear's on you. So I think sometimes it can help a game. Probably something people haven't considered, but it's just like food for thought, you know. I just, there's got to be a correlation in the fact that horror games, like on PS2, the most expensive games on there, the top 5 that go for hundreds of pounds, they're Rule of the Rose, horror game. Michigan Hell Report, horror game. Rule of the Rose, horror game. QOwn, horror game. All the top 5 are horror games, you know? So there's got to be a reason for that. I mean, you might just say, oh, yeah, it was a good generation for horror games, but I just feel like, I don't know, they just like, if you go back to play an old platformer, you can see the holes in it, but the holes and flaws in the graphics of an old horror game are hidden very well because they're hidden in the atmosphere of the game.
You know, and one of the cool points that you kind of like touched on earlier that I never really thought of is like the older graphics, you know, and the older aesthetic sort of added to that imagination that you would have to use. And imagination is huge in horror because, like, you know, you're running away with, like, it makes you more scared. Your imagination's more scary than anything they could present on television, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Horror is all relative, you know, it's relative to you. And that's why the best films, like, you know, that catch people off guard, which are revolutionary, like Paranormal Activity, once you watch the film the first time, it's very scary. Now, if you go back as a horror fan and watch it 3 or 4 times, not a lot happens, but you're so on edge and alert, because it's a poltergeist, you're watching every little thing in the background, waiting for it to move. And you end up creating scary scenarios in your own head. So your own imagination's the biggest fear tool of all, really. And it's the same in modern life, you know. If you've got a stressful job, you get anxious about things that may never ever happen. Your imagination is your worst enemy. It really is. And of course, in video games, it can be your best friend.
Yeah, for sure. So, Scotty, you know, I want to ask you about one last game, or at least tell you about a game that kind of I have FOMO about, but it's not. I also am playing this because I'm a genuine fan of like the studio. So, Atlas recently has come out with their latest entry. Atlas was famous for doing the Persona games, like Persona 3, 4, and 5.
I know what you're going to say. I've seen it,
Yeah.
man. This got some good reviews.
Yeah, so recently, you know, this was a game that was on my radar, but it wasn't a game that I was like highly anticipating, if that makes sense. So like my anticipation right now is I am excited about little things in the future, but Dragon Age is the end all be all. Like Dragon Age at the end of this month is the game that I'm like, drop everything for I'm playing this game. This is the game. This is the end of the road for me. Like, this is the game that I'm looking forward to probably most out of the entire year, is the Dragon Age Veilguard, which comes out on Halloween this year.
What a great time to drop a game as well.
Yeah, for sure. So that's the game I'm most like, I'm like, forget everything else. That's the game for me. But like, so Atlas, you know, like my history with Atlas games is like, my first Atlas game was Persona 5. So I skipped out on Persona 3, had never played Persona 4, played Persona 5, fell in love with it back in 2017. Absolutely loved it, adored it. It was like crack cocaine for me. Like, I was hooked on it. I was this kid that was playing this game, that was playing as a kid in the game, that was like trying to manage relationships, trying to figure out like, I'm gonna fall in love with this girl. Wait, this girl's kind of vibing with me. Oh wait, we have Pokemon like style battles in this game. Like, this is everything I wanted in a video game at the moment. So that's what really made me fall in love with Persona. And then later on, I went back and played Persona 3 earlier this year. So I say this all to fast forward to say, like, coming into this Atlas game that I've been, you know, like anticipating, but not necessarily like as high as Dragon Age Veilguard. I was looking forward to Metaphor Refantasio a little bit, but not like, oh,
that's
this is
how you pronounce it. Sorry, Seb. Say it again.
What's Metaphor Refantasio.
Cool. No, I didn't know how you pronounce it. I didn't want to say it in case I messed it up. So you said it a lot better than I would. But yeah, pull the trailer up for the guys to see. Anyone that's watching this, Apologies for
Okay,
the
we'll do.
audio-only listeners, but that's the reason why. If you listen to this show on Spotify or Apple, wherever you get your podcast from, make sure you also go onto YouTube and subscribe to the Unofficial Controller podcast, because on there you can also get the shows, and occasionally you get a special show like this one where there's visuals and you can see exactly how sexy Seb is and exactly how
Oh,
ugly
thank you.
I am. So it's a nice little treat for everyone. But the trailer, honestly, the trailer for this game is amazing. But there was a time, I've heard you talk about it, Seb, as well, or maybe RGT or George, where Atlas were banging out RPGs like every other month at one point. I heard someone say. There was one year that kept on popping them out. This one looks so good. I heard RPG fans say, out of all the games they've done, like the Personas and stuff, this apparently is like the GOAT. And some people even said, Silent Hill 2's Game of the Year, Astrobot's Game of the Year. RGT said Astrobot's Game of the Year just a few weeks ago. But now everyone's saying this has got Game of the Year radar written all over it.
It's funny that, it is funny because, I think Game of the Year, I think we could have a whole, podcast about, this year's Game of the Year, because it is contentious in a way that the contenders are, I think, more varied than any other Game of the Year that I can remember in quite a long time, and there's no, clear-cut favorites, I would probably say, but, all that to say is, this game, I'm pulling it up right here so that the viewers could actually see the gameplay of it. So this is Atlas, the people who made Persona. They got in their bag and they said, we're going to make a new IP. And instead of we're going to do a Persona style game, but we're going to make it high fantasy. And so we're going to make a new IP, high fantasy, new characters. It has the Persona day-to-day operations of you have to manage your day. You still have to treat characters the way you want them to kind of react to you, so you can develop relationships with them. It still has the turn-based style of Persona. If you like that, then you'll love this. If you don't, then this ain't gonna be for you. This ain't the one, dog. But yeah, if you dug Persona or if you dig turn-based games but didn't necessarily want to get into Persona, this feels like a more mature fantasy version of that. This feels like almost, I don't want to say Lord of the Rings, but it feels like it does feel like you are playing that high fantasy game of I think this is more realistic fantasy that has very mature themes that Final Fantasy fans brag about but not necessarily deliver.
And this is dropped this week, right, as well, Seb, is it?
Yeah, the crazy thing is, I keep mentioning the date. October 11th is the day this dropped. October 11th, I think, dropped. This, hit me in the corrections if I'm wrong, UCP people. It was
just Undisputed, you said as well, was the 11th, I think.
Undisputed, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and Metaphor Refantasio just dropped all in the same day. And I was like, what? What happened to wallets, people?
It's like October 12th is a new tax year and they're trying to evade some sort of, I don't know, something.
It was a huge weekend, and then a huge Friday, I believe. But so this game is one that you obviously it's an Atlas game, so you're gonna spend probably 60 to 100 hours in minimum.
Easily,
because they don't know what a short game is. I don't even think they heard about what short games could be. But this is a game where if you are playing on a handheld console like the Steam Deck, it's perfect for that. If you want to play it on a TV and get those high graphics that make you feel ooh, I'm playing something great right now, it's great for that as well. But it is a turn-based JRPG in the sense to where you go around, you have your Persona Pokemon that you use to fight other monsters. But on the other hand, you make the fighting stuff stronger by developing relationships with outside characters. So with Pokemon, you basically grind your Pokemon to the dirt in order for them to get stronger fighting other Pokemon. Here it's about you build relationships with people, and those relationships in turn make you a stronger fighter.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's absolutely phenomenal, though. The graphics are good. The gameplay is crisp. I think the story has mature themes to where like it doesn't feel like it is over the top with his themes. It feels like the themes are like there, but not necessarily like if you get it, great. If you don't, like you can still enjoy the gameplay of it. What were you
Yeah,
going to ask? I'm sorry to cut you
no,
off.
I'd say I definitely want to play the game. So these RPGs and JRPGs, I'm normally a bit hesitant. I know I got into an RPG, The Witcher, Wild Hunt. I'm so glad I did, but there's so much time investment. Like there's so many Final Fantasies I still want to play, which I haven't. So when there's a big, I'm not a massive JRPG fan. I've got friends that are. My brother-in-law is, and they tell me about it. You know, I let them play 10, and then they tell me which one to play out of the 10. I won't waste hundreds and hundreds of hours. But this one, you know, if he's going to play one RPG this year, I feel like this is the one. If anyone wants to check out the reviews for it, it was so stupendously high. I think it got 9. There was even a big, I'm sure someone gave it a 10 out of 10, which is very rare. It literally, yeah, it got some real. I can't hear it. Seb at the sec. It's gone a bit quiet.
Oh,
Sorry
are
there.
you a Metacritic
That's it.
person? Like, have you seen Metacritic or OpenCritic for video
I
games?
have, yeah. I have seen Metacritic, yeah.
So this is like a 94 out of 100 right now, or
Yes.
93 out of 100. So it's like it's getting a lot of rave reviews. I think like this Astrobot and Final Fantasy VII are like the top reviewed AAA games this year so far.
Yeah. It's,
And I don't know if that's going to change anytime soon.
When's the last time? 'Cause obviously, I know you're very in the industry yourself with gaming. When was the last time there was a like a review that high, like 94? It's a bit unheard of for me, to be honest.
Last year was the year of the 90s and like 9s and 10s. Last year, like a lot of the narrative of this year was like this year feels like the cool down year from like like last year, because last year was like maybe the best released video game calendar year of all time, because like last year had so many bangers that came out that were like 90s, 91s, 95s, and like 96s. In the case of like, I think Zelda Tears of the Kingdom came out, and it was like, I want to say like 95, 96.
Yeah, that makes
Baldur's
sense, to be
Gate
fair.
3. Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 though came out and demolished scales. It was like, I think it's like high 90s as well. And it won a lot of game of the year awards because of that.
Yeah, I bet even Diablo was Diablo last year. I feel like it was early last year, or maybe it was the year before.
Man, last year had some, yeah, Diablo's last year. But yeah, last year I think there was like Metroid came out. It was
Spider-Man
like in the
2.
90s.
Yeah, there was loads.
Spider-Man,
Thinking about it, you forget. Yeah, loads.
Yeah, Spider-Man, Alan Wake. Spider-Man, Alan Wake. What was it? Street Fighter was another one that was highly, highly anticipated and highly, it was highly awarded by critics. Then you had
Sounds like you're describing one of my dreams after a few whiskeys. Spider-Man, Alan Wake, all together in the same dream.
And man, Jedi Survivor was that year as well. Like,
yeah, of course. There was a lot.
Yeah, so I'm like, yeah, that year was like amazing. I think next year might give it its run for the money as far as like what could be the best video game release year of all time, because like next year is stacked, stupidly stacked.
Bring it on! I'm excited.
Yeah,
for
but
my wallet is
my
wallet's not.
Oh, the wallet's gonna be hurting. But like to get back to this though, Metaphor Refantasio, I think this is a game that if you haven't played any Persona game and you don't want to deal, if you feel like I'm wanting to try Persona out, this is a good entry point to Persona, because it's the very similar gameplay just with a new IP.
Yeah, I've played a couple of Persona games. I've got one or two on the Switch, and then I've also got what's it called? Megami Tensei. I can't. It's like three words, hard for me to pronounce. But yeah, I know the similar art style. Like it's all very very familiar, you know. And it's beautiful. It looks beautiful. It looks crisp. It flows. Yeah, well, the reviews say it all, and that is for someone like me who's only got one leg on the fence of RPGs. If I was going to play one this year, this would be the one. So,
what are you thinking about getting this for? If you bite the bullet on it.
I mean, the sensible part of my brain, the wallet part of my brain, would say it's probably cheaper on Xbox by £5 than PS5. But I'll probably go PS5 just to get the full experience. Normally, I'd go for like Nintendo Switch or things like this. I haven't seen any. Assuming it's on the
I don't
Switch,
think
I
this
haven't.
could run on the Switch if I'm being honest.
Well, that's all I was going to say is when there's a big RPG, the reviews are always respecting it and saying what changes they've made to get it fit on the Switch, and I don't want there to be changes. I want it to be played as the game was made and intended to. So, yeah, I'll probably go PS5 to be honest, just because I like the controller.
Okay. I think this will be on Switch maybe, or Switch 2 maybe like next year though, because I'm like there's not enough here that I see like that makes me think like, oh, this is so demanding that it couldn't be downsized for Switch though, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I think sometimes with these RPGs, especially open world ones, they just have your rendered background. They sometimes just have things you can't see as far, Things will pop up a bit later, and there might be less NPCs than there normally is. But hopefully that's the only compromise. But you don't want something like battle compromised, the frames per second in there. Then that would just ruin the experience, to be honest.
Or load times at that point.
Yeah.
Because this has like very crisp load times on consoles and PC right now.
And getting a free plug in it, is this a single player experience or is it a co-op RPG?
You already know I don't play very many co-op games, man. This is single player all day, every day. Like this is one of those games that if you feel like you like games that feel like books, to where like, oh man, this is gonna be my book club type of game. This is it, man. This is like 60 hours to 100 hours. Yeah. I think I read a review the other day where someone I think put in about 110 hours into it, and I think that was like, I think they completed pretty much everything there was in the game. So yeah, it's a lot of good content. I'm hopeful that I can finish this game before Dragon Age comes out, because I don't know if I can handle two big RPGs around the same time.
I think the last JRPG I got into was probably Houses, Fire Emblem. I think that was the last one.
Love that.
I think that was the last one I got into, but I just got a bit stuck eventually. Like, you keep replaying the battle, and it didn't matter what the outcome was. I was like, I'm just not strong enough to do it, and I couldn't be bothered to backtrace and work out where I'd gone wrong. And it didn't matter how I swapped around my strategic army or who went first or who I attacked. I just couldn't seem to get on board with it. So after so many hours, I just stopped playing it. But
so I want to pivot a little bit. We've been talking about what we been playing. We've been talking about our FOMO. I want to talk about what do you hope to play this week.
Well, for me, it's going to be heavily Undisputed. So you've been teasing me talking about all these other games, and we've been sharing what we're missing out on. But at the end of the day, Dragon Ball Z, I probably wouldn't play that at all. I mean, it's cool if you brought it round.
I feel you.
I'd sit next to you and I'd play it with you. The RPG, I really, really want to play it, but I know I've got loads of time. I could probably pick it up for Christmas. People will still be talking about it, but I just don't want to miss out on Undisputed. Out of all of the games, I want to play that. So I think, to be honest with you, I'm going to get stuck in many an hour doing the career mode, because it's not something, a bit like Little Guardsman, I can pick up and play, 20 minutes each night, one level, but that's something that you don't just play one fight and turn it off. I mean, it might be once I establish it, but the early part of the career mode is the most exciting bit. Once you get to the top and you're fighting all the top 10s, heavyweights, trying to unify divisions and stuff like that, there's only one way to fall. Do you know what I mean? But the only way is up when you're at the bottom. It's the most funnest experience ever. So for me, Undisputed, I might even order it tonight, Seb. I'm feeling a little bit cheeky.
Feeling cheeky? I like that.
Yeah, feeling cheeky. But I want the special edition. I just can't.
I think you should wait and let the special edition come down a little bit, if I'm being honest.
It's just sold out. It's sold out in all the stores. So I think they only had so many. So it was so, eagerly anticipated. It's just sold out at pre-order. And there's none in stock. So over in the UK, we've got like Game, which is always £5 more than anywhere else, game.co.uk. Mm-hmm. You got Smiths, which is like a toy store, and you got Argos. And those two, Smiths and Argos, are always generally cheaper for games. But they haven't all out of stock for the special version. I don't want to wait. I'm going to get it, so I might just get the cheaper one. But I was only getting it for Tyson Fury on the front, to be honest, just being a bit of a fanboy, and I thought that'd be cool to have a British boxer on the front cover. And being the collector in me, obviously wants the variants. That's the that's the devil's harvest to me. It really is. But
I can understand that. I think you should go cheaper on this, and then hopefully you'll find a collector's edition.
That's sensible, because
later,
the way this show's gone, the amount of games that's on there that you've showed me and we've talked about, it's not going to be a one-game weekend. Let's be honest.
I'm surprised though. You being the Switch guy that you are, I thought you'd be playing like Zelda Echoes of Wisdom right now.
I know, so I really surprised myself with that. So basically, I wasn't aware. That almost like proper shadow dropped on me. I wasn't aware when this was coming out. And then it came out and it's just gone. I've got loads of friends who are well into Zelda, and everyone's saying it like of how good it is, the unique abilities of playing as Zelda and what you can do. I've got so many friends that have talked about it. I've heard so many people talk about it so much that it sets such a high expectation. I'm almost worried. I had the same thing with Breath of the Wild. Right, Tears of the Kingdom, I was on it at launch. I heard about it coming out for ages. I was like, right, I'll get it. So I got it at launch. However, with Breath of the Wild, so many people hyped it up. I did play it and I did like it, but I played it like 6 months after everyone else did. And I think the same with this. And AAA titles with Nintendo, they don't drop much, a £5 at best. So to be honest with you, I'm just going to probably get a pre-owned one.
Okay.
And there was so many games. If I wasn't enjoying games at the time, but every week when we come on the show and we talk about what we hope to play and what we've been playing, there's never been a week where, this has been the quietest for me, where I've been like, right, I've played a couple of retro games and I've played Little Guardsman. So it's a perfect opportunity right now for me to play Undisputed. Now, if Undisputed wasn't there, you removed it, and then the new Zelda, the Echoes game, was out this week, I would play that. So it was just a timing thing for me. And then once I missed the release, you have that FOMO, but after a certain so many weeks, it gets removed. You don't know what you're missing out on eventually if you leave it that long. So I will play it. I'm just not necessarily going to rush straight to it, but I do feel like a hypocrite because
I didn't like the game.
Nintendo, baby. You didn't like it?
No, it's not enough story for me. Like, I think that's the main problem. It's like, I think this game has creative freedom at the wazoo. It's like, it is almost like a developer mod in a way to where you could do a whole, like, the game allows you to just circumvent the rules of what video games should be and, like, play however you want to. And I think that's magnificent. I think that's beautiful. I think that's, like, charming. But if I don't have I think this is also, like, my hang up on a lot of Nintendo games is like the gameplay is there, like the story is there to basically accent the gameplay. Like the gameplay is always going to be on the forefront versus like metaphor is like, no, the gameplay and the story are interchangeably like a yin and yang, to where I'm like, if you want to play that game for the gameplay, like, great, but you're going to be lost as hell because like the story is so intertwined with everything that goes on in that game, like that you're going to fall off on it if you're not invested into that story. I don't think, and besides Xenoblade, I don't think there is a great Nintendo franchise that is the case for, because they do such a good job of like, no, you play these games to have a good time, and it really doesn't matter what the story is, because like we are going to focus so hard on giving you premium gameplay in our art style that it really doesn't matter what you're doing at the time. And I think that's beautiful for the people who want that. But like, I'm a story centric person to where like I want, for the most part, outside of my sports, I want stuff to matter when I'm playing non-sports games. Like, give me a purpose, give me a reason, give me a character to really like invest in, and like let me see the hero's journey of that character. And with Zelda, it is the tried and true thing of like, oh no, something bad happened, I have to save the kingdom. Like, I'm talking about Echoes and Wisdom this time, but like this kind of applies to a lot of Zelda games, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Oh no, something bad happened, I have to save the kingdom. Let's go on an adventure. Here's some puzzles. Here's a whole lot of puzzles that we have to solve. We have very basic gameplay of like, this is hack slash. hack and slash gameplay, but in the most basic form. And we fight the final boss, and wow, the kingdom saved. Yippee-ki-yay. You know, like
it's like Link's Awakening, sort of that 2D pixelated graphics, isn't it? It looked very similar to that, which I think I only played.
It is that, yeah.
A year ago or so. But for me, like, it's ironic. I love the Nintendo Switch. I love the actual hardware of it, but it's quite funny, really, because I don't do it as a service. I play a lot. What do I play on it? I play a lot of indies. I play AAA ported games from bigger consoles, watered down versions. When it comes to actual Nintendo IPs, like, I don't go too crazy for them. You know, I don't go too crazy. I play all the Marios, I play all the Zeldas, but they're not the ones that I'm anticipating for each year.
Oh.
Yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? I actually appreciate the ports and the indie titles on the system more than the Nintendo IPs. You know, I like them and enjoy them all, but yeah, I don't go crazy as much as everybody else does. You know, I'm not the biggest Zelda lover in the world. I haven't completed all the games. Don't get me wrong, I've got Zelda on the NES.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't got any George Mars. I haven't got any on the 64, but yeah, I've got some earlier titles, and I always respect them. But yeah, they're not my most favourite games. And then I get every Mario. I play every Mario, but again, that's just FOMO. I love the way
you say his name, man.
Yeah, it's just FOMO again. Yeah, I clipped it before the way you guys said it. I remember that as ages ago. I think it was you. It might have been you and Bobby or someone. I remember about a year ago. We said Mario. Show. Yeah, I think I recorded it, and I had that as a message tone for a little while, I think. But yeah, the actual big Nintendo IP titles, like for example, Astral Chain. Do you remember that IP from Nintendo? I played it for about 30 minutes. I just get FOMO for every big Nintendo title, and then I have it. I put the cartridge in it. I let it load for 72 hours, and then I play the game.
72 hours.
And then I play the game for 5 minutes. I'm like, thank you, next. You know. It's bizarre.
Yeah, I get that. You know, like I get the appeal of Nintendo games. Like I do. I think these are the purest games to have fun with. But I just need something more. I'm like, giving me characters that resonate with me. Besides, oh, I played this dude in Super Smash Brothers, and I need to save the kingdom. Give me something to work with. Give me a story. You know, I need something a little more thorough than that.
A perfect example of it, there was an indie game which I enjoyed, right? And I played it through to completion. And I'll tell you the name of it in a minute. It was such a beautiful story, but if you didn't see the story, if you just saw me playing the game, you'd think, cool, that's immature, Scott. Why are you playing that? And you might know the name of the game because you compared it to something else. You said it was the Zelda you wish it was, I think you said on a show about a year ago. It was a story of your sister getting older and she's sort of maturing and she doesn't have time for you to play as a kid. And you're still playing this imaginary land.
Little gator game.
Little gator game. Put you out in misery. Now, I played that game and I got to the end of it and I've got 3 sisters. I nearly had a tear in my eye as it got to the end of the game. And it did move me and it's really sweet because it was it copied some of the mechanics and stuff like that from these games. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how games evolve and they get better. If something works, for sure. Why change it? You build upon that foundation. But the story was really good. And I know it's just, might sound like this is, I don't mean this in a horrible way. I mean it as a compliment. That was just an indie game. And yet it moved me so much. Yet all the money, all the funds that Nintendo have got, they haven't hit me the same as they did with Little Gator Game.
That's how I feel. That is how I feel in general. It's hard for me to Zelda didn't hit me like that because I spent 3 times as much as Little Gator Game and it didn't have an impactful hit like Little Gator Game did. But Little Gator Game also has the same mechanics as a lot of the same mechanics as Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, minus the building and minus the Ultra Hand and such like that.
Yeah.
But the same climbing mechanic, the same jumping, the same slash, the same those you move around the exact same way, all that is the exact same as Zelda. But then it hit me with a story that made me, because I have sisters as well, that made me go, damn, I need to call them. I had tears in my eyes as well. You know, damn, I need to call them. You know? So I'm that's that's my cross to bear with like why
Yeah.
Nintendo games hasn't really like mainline first party Nintendo games hasn't really like resonated with me in this
Yeah.
generation compared to, and plus since I play a lot of indie games, like they're kind of comparable nowadays, you know,
Yeah.
like
And
the
we
art
always want
style.
more. Yeah, we always want more of games. Same with films. The best
Mhm.
films that I really like, thrillers and stuff like that, or like really good dramas with a twist. It's the ones that move you. So if you play a game that moves you like that, that's what you want to do. Games are like an escapism, isn't it? You go in there, you want to feel something. So if you're just monotonous, just playing a game and there's no emotion and you're just playing it as a pastime, then you're not getting what you should be getting out of a game. So we're calling on developers out there to put some proper effort into your games. We want some storylines. We want to feel for the characters. We want to relate.
Speaking of wanting to feel for people, wanting to relate to people, I want to end our show this week by, kind of doing a little crossover with the single player experience here. At the end of that show, I like to ask my guests to give one video game recommendation. It can be indie, it could be AAA, but give one single player video game recommendation to the audience. And I'm going to ask that to you, Mr. Marathon Gaming, Mr. Scotty, Mr. AK. I do all this, like Mr. Switch himself. I'm going to ask you, give us a video game recommendation today.
I've got the perfect game because it's a perfect game for you, Seb. Now, you said you don't like horror games because you get a bit scared. Now,
I'm a chicken, yes.
This is a very mild horror game that even chickens can enjoy. And what's good about it is what we were just talking about. We were talking about emotions in games, great stories. Now, there's a game, it's called Among the Sleep. It's a very short game, only takes like 5 to 10 hours to complete. You play it in the point of view as a baby, so it's a realistic game, but because the kid's got an imagination, obviously as a child, everything scares you. So you're sort of crawling around the shadows, you're lost in his house. It's a really dark, twisted story. So your mother's an alcoholic. She's, lost hands on you. So you're like in this house at night, can't find your mother. Your mother's in another room. She's drunk too much wine. And it's an absolutely like very, very emotional, like heartbreaking story. It's very realistic. It's very deep. And you play through the eyes of the baby and you traverse over these different levels, solving different puzzles. It is a horror game to a point where sometimes you have to hide from enemies. But, if you looked at the cover game, the cover art, you can tell it's not designed to be, it's not a jump scare game. It's just a horror atmospheric game. And it just adds to the environment. And that game, I actually talked about it on a YouTube short recently. I said it's a bit of a hidden gem because no one talks about it. And that game actually physical, you can pick it up for $10 or 10 British pounds. That is a very cheap game. I feel like it's a game in the future that people are going to talk about because it's so unique. I'm not sure. I'm just going to check what the name of the studio is on it. I've just pulled a copy out here. So Disco, is it? I don't know if you can see the glare because I loved it so much.
I can see that.
I brought a sealed copy, so I had it digitally on the eShop, and then I loved it so much I actually brought it once it dropped. But yeah, it's just a real unique game. I like really different games. I'm talking about story games. You're a good person to ask for this because you know indie so well. There's a couple of games, I can't remember the names, but one I do remember. I think it's called Mosaic, Omsaic. And it was basically a story about a depressed man who lived, he had a very mediocre job, low salary. He lived in a little flat apartment and you just went about going to work. And on the way there, you made some decisions, like it would say, would you like to step in this puddle? Things like that. And you took a little bit of a risk with a character. Instantly, you felt sorry for him. You could relate to him. He was at a dead-end job. And then the game got real twisty and dark. And I played through that game and it just blew my mind. I remember trying to work out what genre it was. I typed in games like Mosaic because I was trying to find things like it. And I found another game, but it's completely slipped my mind. And I just like unique experiences like that. But even like, there's a game, I think it was Simulacra. It plays through like a mobile phone.
Yeah.
That was really good. I just really appreciate games that are unique, which have, step outside the box. They're not afraid to, step outside their comfort zone. So that's sort of things I like. So I'm going to recommend Among the Sleep as a game that I think everyone should try out because it's affordable as well. So if you're on a budget, or you're only allowed to spend so much money this month, you can pick that game up for £10. And that's not pre-owned. I think even in stores it's £10 to £15. It's a real cheap game. And I can guarantee you'll have a good time with it.
All right, everyone, go check out Among the Sleep. But before we go, though, Mr. Marathon Gaming, where can the good people find you? Where can they check more of you out?
So I am on YouTube and YouTube only. So if you just go into Google or YouTube, just type in Marathon Space Gaming, then my account will come up there. I've actually got a horror comedy Halloween special I actually filmed yesterday. I've got it set for next Thursday, British time, at 6:30. So grab a beer or a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. It's a 10-minute video. And basically, I'm going through 50 horror games you must play across all consoles, across different systems. But it's going to be a very different. It's a video of a twist. So I'm actually impersonating another YouTuber. So I've got a bit of an accent on the video. I'm dressed up in a bit of a disguise, and that is I've not told anyone this. So anyone who listens to the UCP, you've already got a heads up that it's going to be a bit of a twist, that video. But yeah, I'm a Marathon Game on YouTube, so I talk about all things gaming, Switch related, retro and modern. The last review was for Little Guardsman, and the next video I'm going to have dropped before the Halloween special next week in a couple of days' time will be on 10 games that I will never sell. So I've got 10 games that all mean something they've got a story behind them. I won't get into it. I'll save it for the video. And they all have a special place in my heart for different reasons, whether it's family or times in my life where I played with friends that I've forgotten now or we've moved on. And they're not necessarily the most expensive games in my room, but it's the ones I look at, and it's not nostalgia. It's something else. It's something, that really hits home with me, and I've got such a strong memory and bond of it. It might not be a good game, but it's a game that holds a lot of sentimental values. So I'm going to be talking about those. So yeah, check me out, Marathon Gaming on YouTube. There we go, in all its glory. Up on the screen, love that.
All right, everyone, for sure, go check him out. Go subscribe. Go like. Go just follow all his videos, because this man's absolute gold. He's a gem. He's a gem. We have to promote this dude. Anyways, everyone, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the UCP. I'm in Sebastian. That's been Mr. Marathon Gaming, aka Scotty, aka Mr. Switch himself, aka the best thing going on YouTube right now. Thank y'all so much for listening to this episode. On next week's episode, you'll probably hear the luscious, the magnificent, the sincere voice of George back on the saddle. It'll probably be back on the rails. You'll be hearing about what's been happening on the compound lately and all that. But I digress. I want to thank all the UCP followers and subscribers. You know who you are. I do not have the list in front of me, or else I'd read your glorious names out right now. But do you have the list?
I can read the list out.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've got it here. So this is for our fans and members of the Discord, and some people that choose optionally to help support us financially to help the show run, and make sure that these episodes all come out and give us everything we need. So as always, the show's always free. It will always be free. I think George has echoed that before. And the Discord's free. You can join the Discord for free. However, there are some different tier systems, that start from as low as like $3, $5, up to $10 a month. And, they get you different perks. There's an unglorious chat in the Discord, which I think comes with the highest perk, and you get a quarterly stream with the host as well. But you can just support and join in with the fun. So I'm going to roll over with the names at the top. So we have got, I can't believe this one snuck in the top, the One Man George Fan Club, Carlos. He's in at the top. Then we've got Firm Returns. So hello and thank you to the One Man George Fan Club. Thank you to Carlos, I should be saying. Stop winding us up with that name, Carlos. And thank you to Firm Returns. And thank you to Trestles, New York. Have you got it up at all there, Seb, or do you want me to roll on
keep
through?
going if you will.
We've got Badabinkster, and I'm proud to say Badabinkster has got the mug. I sent him a mug because he'd done a nice little picture edit for me of a T-shirt clothing design I want to make. So I sent him a little mug to say thank you for that. We've got Tingle Turner, and I almost nearly say Tuna. So thank you to you, good sir. Thank you to Digital Monkery, an absolute OG of the Discord. He always helps out with our challenge accepted. So every month in the Discord, again, this is a free free bit of content in Discord. There's always a basically a challenge to join in, a high score challenge, if you will. So this month it is Gran Turismo on the PlayStation 1. You can join in with emulation, and there's always a prize of some sort. There's always a prize and a bit of bragging rights. So yeah, shout out to Digital Monkery for that one. Rose Space Monk, big up to you, sir. The Gaming Gram, these are all absolute legends. Bald Balder, what an absolute OG. And then Boba, he was actually out with RGT, I think, a few days ago. I saw a few pictures of him looking all merry in a Discord. Then we got myself, Marathon Gaming. We got Sealmaster Elliot. And rumour has it that his whole house is wrapped in plastic. Apparently, he has like a cat flap that he goes through to get through his front door because he just won't take the seal off anything. Yeah, his sofas are brand new. Everything's mint in the box. His cutlery, he has to use throwaway plates. He literally does not get anything out of the packaging. So big up to Sealmaster Elliot. He is Mr. Clean. Big up to Ginge. He is our five-time champion of the world. The undisputed challenge accepted champion. G-I-N-G-E. Big shout out to Ginge. And a big shout out to Emma Sharp. Big shout out and thank you to Harvey Retro. Big shout out to Nowhere Near Berlin. He's not in Hamburg and he's not in Berlin, so keep on looking. You won't find him, government taxman. Big shout out to Mumsy. And the RGT fan club. That could be either of us, to be fair. Big shout out to Pete Brocklehurst. And then love him or hate him, but you're going to love him because you can't hate Billy. Big shout out to Billy Marmite. And a thank you to Simon Pryke. And then this last name, Seb. I know you know who it is. I can't do the last name. So, take it away.
Me. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the last name on our list is the man, the legend, the myth himself. He is Franz.
That was amazing. So, yeah, they're our lovely contributors to the show. They all offer some support, and we're really thankful for that. So thank you to everyone who puts their hands in their pockets each month and passes that on to us. So the show's forever grateful, and we're thankful. So thank you so much to everyone. And yeah, big love to everyone in the Discord. It's a great community. So thank you all.
All right, everyone. Thank you all for being members. If you haven't joined the membership already, you can easily do that. Where can they do that at?
Where can they do that at?
We're gonna send you that information after this show. Look at the link in the bios. You know, everybody.
You got tiers. $3, read out on every show. $5, read out on every show. Art merch yearly. $8, read out on every show. Art merch yearly, plus access to the Unglorious chat. $10, read out on every show. Art merch yearly, plus access to the Unglorious chat and quarterly Zoom chat with hosts. And here's an exclusive. If you become a member, even at $3, only gets you read out on every show. If you become a member between this show and the next show, I will send a mug to the first 5 people to do that. Because I've only got 5 mugs left, you know. I've only got 5 in the room. So if you happen to join... Well, I've got other mugs. I mean, unofficial controller podcast mug. I'm not saying
you haven't made it sound like you only have 5 mugs in your life.
I'm not sending people random old mugs from my dirty cupboard. This is merchandise. It's got the logo on it. But yeah, if you join the lowest tier between this episode and next episode, I'll send you guys a mug. So how about that? But how
UCP
you actually...
mugs, everybody, not his own personal mugs.
But I believe if you click on the show notes on Spotify or Apple or anything like that, it will show you where to go. But there is a website, Seb. Is that correct?
Yeah, there is absolutely a website. You can go on the UCP website as well. The link will be in the description of the episode. So, everyone, you got no excuse. You know, if you are still confused, go and click on that link that has our Discord, and you can just ask. And the millions and millions of people in the Discord will help you out, including one of the Sacred 5 of us. Anyways, I digress. It's been a long show. Marathon Gaming, thank you so much for hanging in there with me. Hi, man. Thank you so much. You're a goat. You're a legend. You're phenomenal.
Likewise. Thank you, bro. I had a really good time. Thank you very much for the chat. Very much enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you all. So, whenever you're listening, let us know what you thought about the show. Go into the description, do all your little homework assignments, like, follow, all that jazz. Thank y'all so much for listening. Tell George we like to see these guys more on YouTube and all the videos, and we will deliver it. Let George know this is the direction, this is the future, this is what we want the UCP to be. So, we're doing this little test run. Let us know what you think. Anyways, I'm in Sebastian. That's been Mr. Marathon Gaming. Until next time, remember, there's nothing wrong with the unofficial controller. The unofficial controller is what you do with it that counts. Until next time, bye everybody.
Bye.
Yahoo!
George and Seb rolling down the road. RGT riding shotgun, a heavy load. Past a longhorn waiting to unfold. In El Paso, Texas, tales been told. One big a sight to see. Pastor preach, set you free. George and Seb, they bend the knee. RGT nodding yes in glee. Join the path in El Paso town, where Pastor Longhorn has got his crown. On high, the dirt down, where the wildest show. Sunday's hot, the desert air. George and Seb feel the glare. Words hang everywhere. Salvation found without a care. Sunday's hot, the desert air. George and Seth both feel the glare. Longhorn's words hang everywhere. Salvation found without a care. RGT plays a sacred tune. Stone moon, Longhorn grins from afternoon to the night. They'll see you soon. Join the club in El Paso town, where Pastor Longhorn's got his crown. On high, the other down. This show out. Show.